Welcome to a special edition of Oakdale Update in honor of our Veterans Day. I'm your host, Frank Orsello. Here is an interview I taped recently with Lon Pardun from Washington County Veterans Services. I'm now joined on Oakdale Update by Washington County Veterans Service Officer Lon Pardun. Lon, thank you for joining us on Oakdale Update.
My pleasure, Frank.
Okay. Let's start out. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your education, and that kind of thing.
All right. So I served 4 years in the United States Navy, peacetime, 75 to 79. What I did in the Navy was repaired F-4 Phantoms, so I was on a couple of cruises. And after I got out of the Navy, I was in commercial roofing and sheet metal for about 40 years. And so when I was getting ready to slow down and do something a little bit different, I really wanted to help veterans. So I talked to the CVSO at the time, John Larson, to find out what I would need to do to get this job. And so I did that and ended up working at Community Services for a little while, and then I've been an assistant CVSO for about 3.5 years now.
Okay. Are you out at the courthouse, right, at the Washington County Courthouse?
So we're at the Government Center, which is the courthouse, Government Center, and the law enforcement is all in one, in one building. The Government Center is the 5-story building. That's where we're housed.
Okay, so the Washington County Veterans Service, what exactly do you do?
So what we do is we help veterans and their families apply for VA benefits. There's federal, state, and even some local benefits, and that's what we do.
Okay, and you are out at the, as you said, at the Government Center.
Yeah.
Why are you there? How did it come about?
Well, so typically CVSOs are stationed at courthouses, but Washington County has their CVSO as part of their community services, and that's why we're in the Government Center. But in this case, the Government Center and the courthouse are right next to one another. We also have offices in Cottage Grove and in Forest Lake.
Is that still Washington County down there?
Yes, yep, it's the very end of Washington County. As you know, Washington County is very long, so
yes.
Having offices in Forest Lake and Cottage Grove, plus one in Stillwater, really helps make it a little easier for vets and or their families to get to us.
So are you a government worker? Do you work?
Yep, I work for Washington County.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Yes.
that's great. Okay, so what do you do? Okay, so I want some help, and I come to you.
Right.
What do you need from me?
So the most important thing that a veteran and or their family needs to have is what's called a DD-214. So it's a Department of Defense Form 214, and that is a record of their enlistment. Gives the time, the date they went in, the date they got out, character of service, honorable, dishonorable, etc. And that's the most important. And there's the form member 4 is the one that has the character of discharge on it, and that's the one we'd like to see. Now, if you don't have that, we can help you apply for it, but it takes a while to get that, 2 to 4 weeks, generally speaking. But if you don't have a DD-214, there's really no proof that you're a veteran.
Okay, but if you don't have it physically,
right.
I mean, some people just, they stash it someplace and they never see it again.
Yeah.
But if they can call the DOD or write the DOD.
They can come in to see us. We can help them get
and
that.
Yeah. That. Okay.
Yes.
Now, what about I'm a widow or widower, and
right.
my significant other was a veteran, and I want to get death benefits.
Right.
What would that be? What would death benefits be?
So death benefits, there is a burial benefit. It's a stipend, generally around $300. What we need for that would be the DD-214 death certificate, and then a bill from the funeral home. We could help send that into the VA, and then, as I mentioned, they'll send a stipend. And if you're not buried at Fort Snelling, then there may be transportation costs or even plot reimbursement.
Oh.
And if you want to be buried at Fort Snelling, if you have your DD-214, almost every funeral home or cremation society has the capacity to be able to take care of that right there.
Oh, they can do it.
Yes, they can.
My understanding, I think it's a phone call to DOD, or
Right.
and they can look you up in a heartbeat, right?
Well, again, you need that DD-214.
Yes.
It makes it faster. There's a way that it can be expedited, but if there's any kind of problems, then you'd be, of course, waiting.
Sure. Okay, so you said County Veteran Service Officer, CVSO.
Yep.
What kind of training is that? Are you a CVSO?
So I'm an assistant CVSO. There are 3 assistant CVSOs. Ryan Carufel is Washington County CVSO. Washington County CVSO is appointed by the county board.
Oh.
And he's an employee of Washington County, but he works for the board.
Okay.
And we work for him.
I'm assuming most of those people are veterans, is that correct?
You have to be a veteran to have a CVSO job, and to be a CVSO in Minnesota, you need to be a Minnesota resident as well.
Oh, sure. And so what kind of training did you go through?
So we do on-the-job training with the staff that's there. Plus we do certification through national boards to work with all of the claims. And so we're tested out on that prior to being accredited through the national veteran service organizations.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so some of the things you offer, and I'll go through a couple and you tell us a little bit about them.
All right.
Comprehensive benefits counseling.
So comprehensive benefits would be all of the benefits, and that would include compensation, pension, burial benefits, there's education benefits, there's voc rehab, there are a lot of them. Those are all federal. The state has a special needs benefit, which is a once-in-a-lifetime benefit for a veteran to help with things that might pop up. Let's just say they have a roof that needs repair, a furnace repair. They can come in, and it's kind of income-based and per needs basis, as the special needs kind of indicates. But it's, as I mentioned, once in a lifetime, and it has really helped a lot of veterans.
So what do you mean once in a lifetime? Mean that your roof is bad, so you can only use this benefit one
So
time?
this benefit is to be used once per veteran.
Is that a state run or is that fed?
That is a state run, state of Minnesota. Yeah.
And I wonder, does Washington County have some kind of program like that too?
They don't really have a program like that, but we do tap into the state program for our veterans.
Okay. So claims preparation and submission.
Right. So claims preparation, that's mostly talking about compensation. Compensation is simply put something that may have happened to the veteran, an accident or maybe exposure, something along those lines that happened to the veteran while they were on active duty.
Oh.
So the biggest one that we deal with is hearing loss. Almost every job in the military is loud.
Yes.
And they issue hearing protection, but it's hard to wear it and do your job, so a lot of military personnel don't do the best job of wearing it. And so they typically have their hearing loss begin during that time. And of course, during World War II and the Korean conflict
Sure.
and even the Vietnam War, hearing protection really wasn't given. I've had a Korean vet tell me, who was on the artillery, that if they ever smoked a filtered cigarette, they would take the
shove 'em in their
filters
ears.
and stick
Yep.
them in their ears.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main ones that we do. And then also tinnitus or tinnitus, ringing in your ears, that's very popular as well. So we help veterans apply for those benefits, and again, they need their DD-214.
Mm-hmm.
We like to have a diagnosis before we send that off to the VA, but that's one of the most popular ones.
You know, just as an aside there, sometimes you see World War II guys on a 155, they'll cover one ear and pull the pull the switch on
Yep.
it. Yeah, it was too bad. I mean,
Right.
but it's costing the VA now a lot of hearing aids, correct?
A lot of hearing
And
aids,
I
yeah.
think, my understanding, I don't know if you know this, is it just a matter almost if you were a veteran And you're eligible for hearing aids, is that correct?
Not quite, no. Again, either you can apply for, another thing that we help is apply for VA health benefits. In 2003, VA health benefits became means tested. Also, it was, as far as, also had to have, sorry, I'm just,
Tell where you were?
Well, not where you were, but also assets. Excuse me for slipping on that. But in 2015, they got rid of the assets. That's why I don't really say that often anymore. But so you have to, if you're a Washington County resident and you're married, you would have to have income of less than $54,000 to be eligible for VA health care. And
that's what it is now? Is that correct?
Yep. And so you can deduct medical expenses from that. So if you have high medical costs, it's worth coming in and checking it out.
Oh.
So then the other way that you would get hearing aids, if hearing loss or tinnitus or tinnitus is a service-connected disability for you, then you're eligible for free hearing aids.
I worked on A4s too, so I...
Right, A4s?
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, so claims follow-up. So somebody puts in a claim, and then
Right.
you're going to help them follow up on it.
So the veteran submits a claim, and they'll get a lot of paperwork back from the VA. We assist them in all of that, right up to the point where if they're denied and they don't believe they were denied rightly, we can help them with the appeal process. That appeal process, they're getting a little bit better, they being the VA, at going through this, but it can still take years for that to go all the way through.
That is too bad, isn't it? I mean,
it is, but there are an awful lot of veterans that apply, and so they are getting a little bit better at it, but it's just a numbers game. It's just overwhelming.
Yes, it is. Okay, so then networking and advocacy with federal, state, and local agencies. That's you. That's what you do, correct?
Yep, yeah. And so what we do is that a vet comes in, and we talk to them about what's going on, and then we try to find out how we can help. And the same with surviving spouses and or families of veterans.
Okay, that's what I meant before about pipeline. You got the pipeline to the
that's right,
to the right thing.
We
do. You say about this, how long it takes. That is really a long time sometimes,
That's an appeal process. Let's just take
the appeal process.
We'll just take kind of a run-of-the-mill, if you want to call that, hearing claim for hearing and tinnitus. So generally speaking, we submit the claim, and it takes 4 to 6 weeks. You'll get an answer back from the VA. And then after that, it'll be about maybe another couple of weeks, and you should get a call for a test. Then you go down and take the test. 4 to 6 weeks after that, you should have a rating decision. And after that, if you want to appeal it, that's when the time can start. So it's generally 2 or 3 months. It can be longer than that. Frankly, it can be shorter than that.
Okay, so say that I wanted to apply for some benefits, or my widow did. What's the first steps?
So the first step is give us a call and make an appointment. And that number is 651-430-6895. It's not my normal number, so I want to make sure I get a 6895.
We'll flash it up on the screen too.
Right, and so, thank you. And so then we'll talk to you about the forms that you need and that DD-214, or if you're a World War II veteran, you'll have separation paperwork from the individual services. You have that, and that you can come in, we'll talk about what's next needed.
Now, PTSD.
Yeah.
How are you? How is this affecting you in terms of the people coming to see you? What are you doing on it?
So PTSD can be from so many different avenues that we really try to do the best job we can to be really sensitive to what's going on. So there's a couple of ways to apply for PTSD. And so there's also military sexual trauma, and then there's the PTSD that most people think about with wartime. But there can be other PTSDs as far as just witnessing a horrific crash or accident during training. That can happen. And so what we would do then is it's really up to the veteran and how they're comfortable. They can fill out a statement and bring it in. We don't even have to read it. We can submit it through the VA. That way, we can help them write their claim and submit it that way. We really try to make the veteran comfortable because we do want them to submit that claim.
I think I mentioned before, my son is a Navy doctor.
Yeah.
And he runs into this a lot.
Yes, I'm
a
sure.
lot, especially after he got back from Iraq and
Yeah.
all that. And I mean, it's brutal. It really is. And
Yeah.
you read about it in the paper all the time, don't you? I mean, somebody
You do.
either killed somebody or got killed or
Right.
went goofy. It's a tough one.
It is.
So speaking of that, who is eligible for VA benefits?
So who's eligible for VA benefits? Active duty service member. From 1980, you have to have 2 years active duty. Prior to that, if you had active duty that didn't involve training or boot camp. And so it's pretty tough to say with a blanket that who is eligible as far as reservists and guard. Typically, guard members lately are they're being deployed, which is what's called a Title X deployment, and then they're activated. And if they in fact complete their Title X time or were drawn back not against their will, but if they finish their deployment, then they would be eligible for VA benefits.
So they could be 6-month reserves, but then they get activated. And if it's 30 days or 60 days?
90 days.
90 days?
Or to the end of their time. So,
Okay.
so sometimes what happens is that they'll activate a unit and they'll be ready to go for a year, and then they find they don't need them,
Yeah,
and so they draw them down. And so as long as they were there and able and willing to be there for the time,
Sure.
they're eligible.
And so I see that the Red Bull Division, the Army National Guard, they are on the way to Kuwait, I believe.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
I believe
and that's
so.
going to be a year, I believe, at least a year.
To start with, that's what I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now, generally speaking, reserves are not eligible for benefits. Is that correct?
So generally speaking, no. If a reservist has active duty time in boot camp and during school, then A school, if you're a Marine or a sailor.
Air Wing,
And,
yep.
yep. And so A school, so if that's the active duty time you have, generally speaking, you're not eligible. But please give us a call. I mean, it's worth a phone call to find out. We're more than happy to go over it with you. Yeah.
And I understand reserves can't be buried at Fort Snelling either, correct?
Generally, no.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, geez, I think we've covered about everything.
Yeah.
I just want to throw one other thing out there. As I saw in some of your literature there, that Camp Lejeune,
Right.
They've had a lot of trouble with their water out there, and
They
there's
have.
a lot of Marines for many years that
Yeah.
were stationed there for years.
Right.
What's the status of the Camp Lejeune?
So Camp Lejeune from 1957 through 87, and I think they're just about to increase that time, had contaminated water. And that water was not only affecting Marines, it was affecting their family.
Yes.
And so initially the VA they would do surveys, and they wanted people to let them know if they were there. And what they found is that there is a list of presumptive diseases now that the VA will offer compensation for if you have one of those diseases.
Sure.
So if you're a Marine that spent any time between 57 and 87 in Camp Lejeune, more than 60 days at Camp Lejeune, then give us a call and we'll talk to you about that.
Okay,
and again, you'll need your DD-214.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of leukemia and
Yeah.
and the kids are not being born in good shape right now. So.
Well, again,
I mean,
that
that's
was
part
from
of it, too.
'87. That was
But
part
we
of
don't
it
know.
back,
Yeah, we don't know.
back when, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Absolutely.
But that was all over the country too, so there's nothing special with the Marine Corps on that one.
Well,
okay,
that's right.
Lonnie, we are out of time, and I want to
All
thank
right.
you for joining us. What's that number again, if anybody has any questions?
Okay, 651-430-6895.
6895. Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah. Thank you
And,
for yours.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.